Welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Wolf. My wife and I run a life and health insurance brokerage where our main mission is to help people with those needs. The point of the podcast is to help you at whatever phase that you are at in your entrepreneur journey, whether you're just getting started or you've been in it for a while. We're wanting to document our journey through, and hopefully it helps you. So today I am super excited to have one of my good friends on the podcast, the one and only.
Whoa.
The one and only Matthew Doring. Welcome to the podcast, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Is this your first podcast?
Yes. Yeah. Number one.
How does it feel to be on a podcast?
How much are you paying me?
I'm not.
It's all right.
What if I was paying you a lot?
Cool.
It's pretty cool?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to dive in to a lot of different subjects. But first and foremost, I want to just basically tell the people about how I met you, and we'll just dive right in. So, we've been knowing each other for about a year now, little less than a year, or was it around Christmas time last year?
I got licensed December 15th.
Dude, you're like the type of person that like I feel like I've known forever. Do you get that a lot?
No.
What do you mean? No. You're not forgettable.
Yeah, no, for sure. But
yeah,
not forever.
I feel like I've known you for way longer than a year.
Yeah, no, it happens. But
we definitely work together every day. So that probably has something to do with it. But yeah, about a year ago, came here, checked out the new office. I saw you walking around a couple different times, and then I think you were here like your third or fourth time, and I was like, dude, I gotta figure out like what this guy's doing. Like he's like going in and out of offices,
building stuff.
Yeah, and then I pulled you in, and I was like, hey, dude, like tell me a little bit about you, and like, yeah. So why don't we start with like how that conversation? Do you remember how that conversation went? You're like how, and we don't have to go like exactly like word for word about like what we talked about, but for me, like you were like, hey, like I got some stuff, and I was like, dude, everybody's got stuff, and you're like, no, I got some stuff, and I was like, all right, let's talk about it, because I got stuff too. So we're at the kitchen table. That's the point. Real talk, real conversations. Let's get in there.
So, 2020, November 13th, family was in a car accident. We lost our 4-year-old daughter. That was like start of a huge trial in my life. And just living that and going through that firsthand and seeing like the devastation that, obviously a child's a little different, but you lose anybody, you lose your dad or your mom unexpectedly at a young age and stuff. It tears through families like a sword. And we survived through it, and I just felt like it was totally, I don't know what the word is to describe it. It was just very odd that I ended up here. Never thought of doing anything like this. Yeah. And I was like, okay, God, I see you.
Yeah. God was definitely working that whole entire week. Even when we look back, we don't always understand why things are happening when they're happening and what the point is and what the purpose is, but he's always in control when we allow him to be. If you are comfortable sharing, do you mind walking us through the accident?
Yeah. Like
what happened?
It was just cold, foggy morning, county road. Pulled out, semis coming down, barreling down the highway fast. Struck the driver's side.
Who was in the car?
My wife at the time, Graham, who was 1 year old, and then Reese, who just turned 4. And I was heading the other direction to work. We had just left that morning. We just left. And it was during the pandemic, and so things were just a little crazy. And I got a call from this weird number. I was trying to fill up gas, my 95 F-150. And kept calling me over and over again. I picked it up, and he's like, "Hey, is this Matthew? Your wife is in an accident. You need to get down here. It's bad." And I knew. Like, I could feel it in my spirit. I was like, something's wrong. And got up there. Ambulances, fire trucks, helicopter. I may have had to fight off a couple firemen.
Sure. Get to your family.
Yeah.
Were you at the scene, or was this at the hospital?
I was at the scene.
Dang.
I was there.
So you were there, got to see, or you were witnessed, them getting everybody out of the car.
They kept me pretty constrained.
Okay.
And didn't let me see much, which is why I fought a lot.
Sure. Well, I can only imagine.
I only really saw my wife get loaded into a helicopter.
Okay.
So they took her to a lot of answers.
They took her to a helicopter, or took her out, got loaded into a helicopter. Do you remember, like, what happened next? Like, you went to the hospital. Like, what was the next phase in that?
And I think I went to my house, and I went to my daughter's room, and I screamed. And then, I went to the hospital, and I just got, like, sat in a waiting room. Like, the doctor needs to talk to you about your wife. And I'm just, like, preparing for the worst, you know?
Yeah.
And I just immediately, I was like, I don't want to be in this world anymore. Like, I want to go to heaven.
Yeah.
Like, this place disgusts me.
What happened to Graham?
Nothing.
Not a scratch.
Not even airbag dust around his chair.
Wow.
Which most firemen know. Like, a 1-year-old in an accident like that, their necks are...
Did the car roll? Like, how? Like, it just impact and...
Yeah.
Dang. And it was driver's side? Got it. Obviously, this is a touchy, and I can see the emotions that you're going through right now. Like, these are things that are real. And so I appreciate you for being, like, this vulnerable, for real. Like,
yeah.
I do. I remember sitting on the couch, or sitting in my chair. You were sitting on the couch when you were telling me this for the first time, and I was like, holy cow. Like, I didn't even know how to react, didn't know how to, like, take what you were telling me. And I was just like, this, like, you're, like, what you've been able to go through, or what you have gone through. Like, no one, unless they've lost a child, would, like, knows what you've been through. And so for you to share that with me, even, that when we were first getting to know each other, like, spoke volumes of, like, hey, like, I think I'm where I'm supposed to be, because obviously the traumatic experience of having to see and walk through it, and then the time between, like, she's in the hospital, like, you guys figuring out, like, what to do there. How long was she in the hospital for, your wife, at the time?
Might have been a week. I can't remember. That's fuzzy.
Sure. But she was in the hospital, like, pretty seriously injured.
Medical bed for, like, 3 months in our house.
Okay. And I, correct me part of the story if I'm speaking out of turn, but from what I remember from that time, or when you were telling me how it went down, is maybe it was a month or two later, received a call from a guy that you were like, he handles all my stuff, I have no clue, like, whatever. I was just like, yeah, do it, whatever. He handled, like, your auto insurance and your house and all that stuff. And basically he was like, hey, I need you to sign this paper. And you're like, don't know, like, what, don't really want to talk to people.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, there was a policy that we had on Reese. And then I remember specifically what you told me, that once, it was done and you got the check, you set it on the top of the refrigerator or the microwave, and it sat there for weeks.
Yeah, till Christmas.
Because you didn't want to cash it.
I literally, I mean, you go through some crazy stuff. But
of course.
I thought I'd tear it up and she'd show up on Christmas.
Right. Can you tell me, and I remember, again, back to this conversation, and the weight of like what that is, of what you were able to do from there, like how it like brought you out of a way to get help, and what you were able to do.
Well, I think a lot of situations in life like that, but this one particularly, like you gotta you gotta hit that head on if you're gonna survive that. You have to. I literally took it as like a poison, and this poison, I'm gonna take it full bore, and it's either gonna kill me, or I'm gonna defeat it, and I'm gonna survive for my family's sake.
Yeah.
And you know, you just gotta take it one day at a time. You just gotta keep going.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I was gonna say because I have ADHD. But
I think that specifically your story speaks volumes to, you know, you don't have to have all of the right answers right away. You don't have to have any of the answers.
Mm-mm.
You just got to wake up the next day like have a reason to wake up. And for you found your reason was your boys. And like you weren't going to allow the worst situation, the worst thing that's ever happened to you to turn into a worse thing for somebody else.
Right.
And I think that's
I have a lot of conviction in that department.
Yeah, dude, that's like amazing. But nobody will ever know what it's like unless they have lost a child. You know, like you said, even like a parent, it's different than a child. So I think that the way that you look at life and the way your perspective is on things shifts when you've gone through the experiences that you have.
Definitely.
Tell me like what that is for you.
Well, as far as like
your perspective, your outlook.
Well, I mean, with grief, the pain doesn't get any lighter. It doesn't get easier. But through Christ, He gives you the strength each day to get stronger, to be able to carry it. And that's just, I mean, that's really all there is to it.
Yeah.
I would not be here without God. And in fact, I got recruited after I got rebaptized. I was still wet.
Yeah.
And that's when I got recruited.
Coming out of the tank.
Coming out of the tank.
Wow.
The pool.
I remember you sitting in my, that same conversation. You're sitting there and you're like, man, if I could just help somebody through, you know, explaining to them what it's like to lose and why like this is so important to have, it'd be worth it.
Yeah. They don't know what's coming.
Right. So I think you carry, I know you carry a serious like conviction when you're speaking to people about insurance and the importance of why we should have it for our loved ones and why we should have it for ourselves, because you've firsthand witnessed like what it is to like go through, right? Mm-hmm. The things you've been through. And you know, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't help the grieving, like that part, like it's still there, but it does help in other ways.
It'll get you out of a house,
yeah.
Get you out of the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Helicopter flights are $90,000, by the way.
Yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah.
So let me fast forward. Now we're here.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been able to position yourself, like, to be able to, like, what have you done? Maybe you're speaking to somebody and talk specifically, like, what have you, and maybe you can be vulnerable here about, like, it's not been the easiest, but, like, why do you feel so strongly that you should be doing this? And, like, how is that conviction for you when you are talking to clients on the phone?
I mean, it's a pretty touchy subject for me, so it's easy to tap into find the passion in the subject, especially like covering people's, the value of their loved ones, the value of their family. And it's ultimately, trying to help them understand that this is to mitigate, any financial fallout from unknown variables that can happen in life and will happen. I laugh with clients. I've cried on the phone with clients. I've gotten mad and been like, this is why I don't want to give you a policy. Let me tell you why. Because one day I'm going to have to do your death claim. And I think as any agent, that's when things get real.
No doubt.
I feel like I haven't had one yet, but I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But it's an honor.
Yeah. In my mind, when I was looking at opportunities and different things that were out there, there's many different things that you can sell, right? Like sales is really universal, but finding something that you can be passionate in that actually is making a difference in other people's lives and it provides impact long term. This is, to me, it just made all the sense in the world to, get into this insurance industry specifically. And I think that if you don't have the passion for it, the hype will wear off. And so you have to find that. You have to
care.
And you have to care.
It's not selling, it's serving.
Dude, that's so good.
I mean, if you don't care about the client, just go be an underwriter.
It goes back to, you're right. It goes back to our theme, and I think we wear it, and it's never going to get worn out in my mind, but people over profit is what we genuinely mean and what we'll stand by, and we'll keep saying it.
Yeah.
And it's about our clients. We're going to put those people first above anything and making sure that they understand what the gravity of what they're doing. And then, hey, you're also going to have somebody in your corner to be able to, walk you through this and navigate this side of things.
Yeah. 100%.
We're not just going to just be done with you and sell you a policy and never see you again. That's not us.
No. I give them my phone number. I tell them it's like a 7-Eleven. It's open 24/7. Bad things happen at night. This is the number you call.
I love that. You've taken a very personal approach to this business. But here's what I will say. For those of you who don't know Matt, you're one of the most energy-driven people that I know. And so I love you so much for how much energy you bring to our office. I cannot be in a room without cracking up every other minute, over something that you say.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? I'm going to hit you with some questions that I didn't prepare you for.
I mean, just growing up in the Midwest is god-awfully boring. So you got to add some salt and flavor to life.
Have you always been a jokester?
Not so much. I think I kind of broke out of my shell.
Okay.
When I lived in Atlanta, I was 20, 22, 23.
Okay.
But, yeah, kind of class clown.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the superlatives, you were class clown?
Yeah, I get it after my dad.
Dad's a clown too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Except for when we're together. Then we're not clowning.
No, dude, I think that there's something to say about always being able to put a smile on other people's faces. And I think you do that and you carry that so well. Sometimes not even on purpose. And it's pretty funny, the stuff that comes out of your mouth a lot of times. So I appreciate that. I think it's, those that do know you know that how much value and how much true joy that you bring to their lives as well. And you have for Chelsea and I specifically.
Gotta keep the kitchen hot.
As much as you annoy us, we still love you to death. The memes that you send us on a constant basis.
I'm the meme king.
Yes. You should have played the game with us on Christmas. We did the
what do you mean?
meme. What do you mean? Yeah, you were perfect for this.
Just peopled out.
Meant for that. Oh, yeah, I know. I told Chelsea, where is Matt? I was I think he's been sitting for too long in one area.
Buckled in. White elephant got crazy.
Yeah. What did you end up with?
Laser tag.
Laser tag.
Yes.
Did you steal that gift?
Well, I mean, I got a case of wine at first.
Okay. That was a no-go.
I'm not celebrating my 8 years of sobriety with that.
Okay. So that got stolen from you. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank the Lord. And Chelsea.
And then you were able to then steal
Laser tag.
laser tag.
And I was the only kid in the room, so I got to keep it.
Love it. Nobody
Yeah.
was coming after your laser tag.
Mm-mm.
Nice.
I was the only person.
Have you put it to use since you've gotten it?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I have it in Glenn's computer box all mounted up.
Ready to go at any moment.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Tell me more, because I want to get back on a little bit of the insurance stuff. What has been your, like, rawest, truest, like, tell me a story or an event that has helped you, like, understand, like, what this is in a practical way for the business side of things. Like, you maybe came into it like, oh, I just want to sell some insurance, and like, how have you taken it on of like, okay, now I'm going to take this and like, this is what I'm doing. Like, how has that been for you? And then like, how's your, perception of it?
I feel like currently where I'm at in the career is like the conviction of, if I don't help this family see and understand the importance, I'm doing them a massive disservice.
Because who will though, if you don't? Who will if you won't?
I hope someone does if I fail.
But if they're not going to listen to you,
Right. Yeah.
9 times out of 10, people put off insurance and they just kick it down the road. And I think that it's so, like, our job, I've told this to several new people when they first get started, is like, yeah, we don't sell insurance. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, no, our job is to show people why and what it looks like if they don't have it, and what the importance of what they're, like, what it's going to do for them
100%.
and for their family.
Yeah.
Not for them, but for their family.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's like the most unsalesy thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, if you're taking that approach, it's going to lift a huge weight off of, your first calls are very uncomfortable and awkward.
Of course. Had you ever done any, like, phone calls like that, or?
Yeah. Like, I got into this because I was like, oh, telesales? Like, let's go.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah. I think so it's crazy because when Chelsea actually first started this, she was going like in person, like in homes. Mm-mm. And don't catch you there in the house.
I've only done one in home and it was unsuccessful.
I remember a story that she was telling me about a client that literally had like upwards of 20 cats running around inside their house, and the lady is like super, super unhealthy, and she agrees to the policy. Chelsea's like, okay, cool. Who do you want to like name as like the beneficiary to have this policy when you pass? And the lady was like, I want it to go to my cats. And she was like, well, unfortunately, we're going to need to list like an actual person. Now they can like make sure your cats are taken care of. So make sure you let them know, whatever. So she ended up finding a person to name. It was just some like random person that she knew as the beneficiary. And then like as she's like filling out the application, the lady's like asking her to like light her cigarette. Like that was her like first like in-person experience. But she went through it.
That was the close.
Yeah. But I think that the way that we are able to do the business now is like completely like different by being able to be virtual. There's a lot more technology that we have at our disposal to be able to help clients understand exactly what they're getting with illustrations and being able to like lay it all out for them. Knowing what you have is, I would say, our job is to make sure that we are explaining and doing a good enough job at telling people, because a lot of people think that, they have a policy and they're like, oh yeah, I've got a whole life. And it's like, you probably don't. Mm-hmm. You probably have something that's going to expire. You might even have an accidental coverage. Like, a lot of people don't really understand what they actually have. And I think you do a really good job at finding, if they do have a policy, what they actually have, explaining that to them, and then showing them an alternative of what might be better to them.
Yeah.
How's that been as far as like the education part? Like, how have you been able to dive in? Do you feel like you've you like that side of things, like figuring out different?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we both come from car sales.
Yep.
So to touch on the telesales, I like telesales because I don't lose a deal and wonder, was it my sweater?
Okay.
Or my face? Was it just my face?
Or did my breath stink?
Yeah, right. But like the product knowledge and understanding things. I mean, if you're in this industry and you don't have a policy, that's like working at the dealership and driving a different brand.
Right.
Or not
even
having
driving
a car at all. No driver's license. Like, how are you going to have any belief or conviction if you don't even trust your own product?
Dude, that's so good.
And so I have like a couple policies. And then I'll read the policy packets. And I'll print out copies of policies I've issued. And I'll read through it. Every little fine detail. So that I know, maybe just a little bit more than the average person.
I like that.
But it helps that conveying to the client that I'm truly here for you. And like, this is the one.
Yeah.
And I can go deeper than just like, oh, it'll give you a check.
Right. Actually being able to understand the client's situation to be able to like know if a policy is going to be like recommend the right one, I think is big. Knowing what they can qualify for, knowing like what the right, one to go with. And that doesn't happen overnight. I think you've done a good job of like understanding that and leaning on Chelsea and I for, help and guidance in there.
Bang my head against that wall a couple times.
Yeah. And it's just part of learning, I think that all too often, people go to college, people like take years and go into student debt, student loans, and get education. But we think that like sales, you don't need to like have any, you should just be naturally good at it. And it's like, well, no, you should learn, you should watch podcasts, you should listen to other people that are doing it. If you want to make, what a doctor makes, and a doctor goes to school for 10, 12 years, you can do that in sales, but you should probably get some education on some sales techniques and,
probably
watch a few podcasts, read a few books. And I think that,
especially on mindset.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about like how to actually perform well in an industry like this. I think you've done a good job of like taking that on, and I think you're continuing to learn in that area. What would you say to the person that's maybe, not doing those things? Where would be a good place for them to start?
Go to the carrier websites, print out the forms and materials. I mean, almost every portal has documents, forms, materials, literature. Print out the policies you do have that you've written on a client. Go through that. Read. Compare it with the clients. See who's better. Have a competition.
Sure. I like that. I think that's great.
I mean,
it's good advice.
Even if you don't get a policy issued out of it, you learn something.
I remember having a conversation with a new agent who actually wasn't a new agent at the time. The conversation was with the number one salesman in our agency, Glenn. But this is when he was like just starting off, right? And he had met with somebody, and it didn't go well. He wasn't able to get through. They weren't like they weren't following along with him. Whatever. It just he didn't get the sale, and me and him had recapped it, and I gave him like one just little tip of like, hey, try this next time. And like a week later, and it doesn't always happen like a week later, but literally a week later, he had like the same exact profile of a client, same exact situation happened, and he was able to do one of the small tips that we had talked about, and that sale turned into like a $5,000 commission for him. And he was like, dude, it worked, whatever, that was crazy. And I was like, hey, so what I want you to think about is you didn't make money on that deal that time, but you did, because you learned from that experience. So a lot of times we have to learn. We might not, get what we want, or we might not make the commission that we want on a deal. But if we learn from it and we grow from it, then we are able to help the next family. And so I think that's big, and he was able to take that on. Obviously he is where he is, but a lot of times that's true with a lot of different things in life. think specifically. So those are things that I think everybody has to go through. What has been one of your most challenging things in this industry specifically that you've had to overcome?
Keeping my head straight.
Talk about that for a little bit. Why is it so difficult to keep your head straight?
Life's hard. Life's hard for everybody. But nothing's easy. Like, you can't come into anything. I don't care how good you are. You're going to be humbled.
Yeah, pick your heart.
And you just can't give up. And, I've had a lot of challenges the last year outside of the business that I've had to just kind of take on the chin and keep on going.
Navigate, yeah.
And just keep on going. And it's been a tough year.
Yeah.
It's been a tough year. It's been a good year. It's been a bad year. It's been all over the place. Mixed bag of emotions for this year.
No doubt. But guess what?
I'm ready to put it in the bag.
You're ready to get after the next day, though. That's what I think is so powerful about your mind. If you can truly harness, like, hey, good, bad, okay, guess what? You can control. You can control getting up the next day and putting in an activity. You can get up and keep going at it. Whether you had a good day, whether you had a bad day, you just keep going and keep going and keep making steps. You may make a couple steps forward, and then you may take a couple steps back. But you keep taking those steps forward.
Might take 10 steps back.
But life is about keep it moving, right?
Embrace the suck.
Yeah, that's what the Marines go by. And I think that in sales specifically, right, you have to understand that, like, you gotta, like, be super strong-willed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's gonna chew you up and spit you out.
Even if you do the right thing. I mean, people will just be people.
People will be people. Yeah. And you can't control what they do. You can control what you do.
Yeah, don't get your emotions in it.
Yeah. So mastering your emotions, you would say, is like one of your most challenging things that you've had to go through this year. Yeah. It's good. When you could recognize it, it's big, because that's this business, is understanding, hey, you could either be a part. I always say that, it could be the roller coaster that you watch everybody like throwing up on, or you can just be on the roller coaster throwing up yourself. Why don't you just watch, like, know that's coming and know that, hey, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. I mean, what's that saying? Like, everybody wants what somebody has until they see what they had to go through to get it. Quitters never win. Winners never quit. So that's just been the story of my life for the last 4 years.
Are you a big motivational, like, you've got inside your office a bunch of motivational posters?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? You just like the quotes, or?
I don't know. I mean,
thought it would look cool in the office?
Yeah. But no, I do like those little reminders everywhere.
They're good.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of noise in this world. There's a lot of things coming at you. So you got to fill your space with some positivity.
What's your favorite quote?
You teeing me up right now?
Teeing you up, bro.
Ooh. Can I do my own?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So, there's two types of days. There's days you're going to learn, and there's days you're going to earn. The only way to lessen the amount of learning days and close the gap to get to the earning days is you got to be committed to taking that L away every day. So you got to keep losing. You got to keep failing. You got to keep going. You can't give up. And that's true with pretty much anything in life.
Learn and earn.
Right.
That's solid.
I mean, no one's going to start out at anything and they're good at it.
No.
Unless you're like Mary-Kate and Ashley, they're just born for Full House.
Did you used to watch Mary-Kate and Ashley?
No.
Are you lying right now on, like, the podcast, on the Kitchen Game podcast? Okay. Don't tell me. So, this is a fun fact. I'm pretty sure, like, so I had 3 sisters growing up, and I was the only like boy, and they like loved it, and so like we had like every single Mary-Kate and Ashley on VHS. Like, we'd go to Blockbuster, rent the new one, and then we'd buy it. We had like all of them, and I was like, oh, I always have to watch this with my sisters. And I'd be in.
Oh yeah, I know. Locked in.
Locked in. Cool. I think this has been super helpful. Hopefully it helps somebody that's out there. We got really vulnerable, really real.
Yeah.
I want to lighten it up though before we leave. Let people know, see the other side of Matt a little bit.
Okay.
So
let's shake it off.
Shake that off. And tell me about some plants. What's your newest, latest plant that you have that you're excited about? And tell me why you're excited about it.
Okay, so I got a Melochronicium, black and gold.
I'm gonna try to say that.
Melochronicium. I don't even think I'm
Melochronicium.
saying it right. I might not.
Black and gold.
Yeah, it's a variegated, but the leaves get huge.
Okay.
Like absolutely jungle crazy.
Are you gonna have space like for these plants? You're gonna bring them into the office?
Yeah.
We have nice windows.
My apartment's full. And then I got a Monstera Esqueleto.
Sounds official. I have no clue what it is, but
It's pretty wild.
Google it.
Yeah, so it's 7 feet tall right now.
7 feet tall.
Yeah. And I'm just kind of scratching my head wondering, oh Lord, what am I supposed to do with this thing? I got to move out of my apartment in like a month. And I'm just like, whoa.
Do you have Christmas lights on it right now, or
No,
like?
it keeps falling over though.
Oh gosh.
Like it's like, whoa. I'm like,
Sorry, buddy.
yeah.
Are they? I think you've told me this before, but are plants like temperamental?
They got attitudes. People ask me, do I talk to them? No. They talk to me. No, they do. I mean, I always have dirty fingernails because I'm always like feeling the dirt, checking the roots, smelling for, any blight or like bacteria or fungus.
What got you into the plants?
It was after my daughter's funeral. There's just so many plants we brought home, and it's I think it's just it's a coping, but it's a control thing. Like I can just listen to it. I can control it, control its environment, and nobody can really mess that up other than like a dog or a cat or one of my loose kids. You know what I mean? So
You do have some loose kids.
yeah, I don't know where they get it.
So you got Graham and you got Q.
GQ.
GQ. That's cool. Did you plan that? Or did you just think of that right now?
No.
Okay.
They're GQ. No, I actually wanted Quentin to be Marshall.
Okay.
Because then I'd have Reese Cup, graham cracker, and marshmallow. I did plan that. That did not work out.
Gotcha.
So, no, we just we wanted to call him Q. His name's Quentin, but we call him Q.
Q.
And it's GQ.
What is Q? What do you think? What's in the future for Q? Like, what's he going to be when he grows up?
I mean, it's a pretty good probability he might be like in the cartoons, like the evil bad guy who wants to take over the world with his like little laser gun that turns people into cats or something. Because he's a menace, but or he could be like a world eating champion. But I don't know.
I love that little
He
guy.
shows a lot of things. Graham's going to be a paleontologist, like Ross from Friends.
No way.
Kid loves dinosaurs.
He is. He knows like all of them too.
Yeah. And his birthday, we got a fossil thing. We dug up a whole T-Rex claw.
What?
Yeah, I don't think it's real. It looks real.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, dude, I appreciate you sharing your story. I appreciate you and your friendship.
Appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you being on the podcast, and we'll definitely have you back to do another one, because then that would be number 2. Unless you're going to just like take your career from here and just just go be on all the podcasts in the world.
I could be a podcaster.
I think that's what they call that. I think you do well at it. You
to
nailed
all
it.
my plans, I'd have to have an assistant.
Dude, get an assistant.
The ficus.
Dude, this has been good. I appreciate you guys for hanging tight with us. This has been another episode of the Kitchen Table Podcast. Stay blessed.